in the chat says what you all are describing is coaching, not talent. I'm not disagreeing.
That's what I was about to say.
Disagreeing with you.
I am not convinced that Louisville has Louisville, not Louis. Yeah. I'm gonna say Louis until I die.
Offensive line is not appreciably better from a talent player standpoint. Is what you're gonna say.
That's exactly right.
You don't think they're getting the most out of the talent?
That's exactly right.
That's an interesting hypothesis.
And I'll go a step further. I don't think Pittsburgh or Louisville's or Indiana's entire offense is that much more talented than your roster. It just isn't. They are getting coached and developed and schemed up better.
Their tackle is the one tackle who.
We can make it. You know what I mean? But you understand the point. It's like it's not like when Cignetti went from James Madison to Bloomington that he brought a lot of future NFL guys with him. Yeah. But all of a sudden they went from 103rd in the country, Jeff, in scoring offense Indiana to first.
They did turn over the roster. He got like a bunch of group of 5 players.
But it can't happen.
And he's coached well.
Yes.
And that's like the bottom line here is there's no doubt.
That's why I'm kind of encouraged. Not encouraged, but I'm optimistic that it can flip quickly because of what Pitt did. And what Pitt went from 116 to 10th. They're 10th in the country in scoring. Last year, they were 116. Y'all remember that offense?
Yeah.
Florida State beat them 24-7. And then Indiana went from 103rd in the country to first. So it can flip. And I have an idea. I have an inkling that Florida State can attract better skill players and better talent on the offensive side of the ball than Pitt and Indiana can.
Probably.
It's all a matter of what you're doing with the talent.
Yes and no. Say your point.
I was just going to say that even if whatever Mike Norvell's offensive system is, and it's changed throughout the years, and this year it's changed. Like he's tried to do some different things. Dominic Robinson had a video with Tom the other day where he explained some of the concepts that they're introducing to try to move the football. I guess where the frustration for a lot of fans and myself is I'm asking, how did this go so wrong? Is he did see these players. He had these players all spring. He had them all summer. He had them go in preseason camp. And if you didn't realize that the offensive – and look, man, we got it wrong too. None of us thought that they were going to be bad.
You know why? Because we believed in Mike Norvell.
Well, but also –
we did.
But also I think, you had 3 guys who played a ton of football and are healthier. They looked healthier. And we probably talked ourselves into it. And they weren't getting dominated in practice. Yeah. And we thought that was going to be a great NFL-laden defensive line. Even during the game the other night, the announcers were talking about how many scouts were there to watch FSU's defensive line.
I was just about to say, you didn't just think that on your own.
Right.
There were context clues everywhere. Right. Yes. Like the 12 NFL scouts that were at every practice.
All hovering around the defensive line. So, yeah, we expected that group to be good. And if the offensive line held their own, you felt like, okay, they have their chance. And as I say that, okay, maybe that's where Mike Norvell was wrong too. But the bottom line is this is his team. And then once he realized that the offensive line was not what he thought it was, you would expect to see drastic changes, like drastic adaptation, going to a more mobile quarterback, going to a rollout passing game when you have these young quarterbacks, doing things,
running the Wildcat once.
Running the Wildcat. I mean,
let me ask you a question, because this is, I agree.
That's what's puzzling.
I find this fascinating too. Do you think that was pride effing with him?
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Because he made the decision with DJ.
Right.
And, it would be, let's say week 3, you're going away from DJ. Boy, that's a hell of an addition pretty quick.
That's
right.
Fair.
Like, and then number 2, because, and you've made this point before, and I think it's a rational point. It didn't make me feel any better when you said it, but I think you're right. That he was, in his mind, he's saying, look, Maurice Smith has played good football before. Right. Darius has played good football before, to the point where he was an all-ACC.
His first team all-ACC.
Yeah. So he's played good football before. So the season gets off to a disastrous start on the heels of a opt-out bowl game and whatever those implications were. And he's like, no, wait a minute now. I know this offensive line's better than this because I've got guys that have done this. They've done it tangibly. I've seen it happen. And I know if they'll just step up their game a little bit, I'll get out of DJ what I thought I was going to get. Of course, we could maybe scream it from the mountaintops a little sooner than that. Like, hey, it ain't going to happen. Right. We're seeing the writing on the wall. But mired in it was pride masking his ability to recognize this is a disaster. Pull the ripcord week 3. You don't have to wait till week 5, week 6. You don't have to wait. Do it now. Like, what did he think when he saw Navy drop 60 points on Memphis? Did he think, that's interesting? Or did he think, oh, well, that's a unique system? Like what did he have to see?
Well, and that's where I think it's what's challenging right now is he moving his own goalposts of what he thinks is reasonable, like is what he believes. Like, again, like some of the plays, some of the mistakes, like yesterday at practice, I asked him after practice because he praised a couple of players for perimeter blocking, one receiver and one tight end. Well, tight end, Landon Thomas made a decent block in the defensive end. And then there's a perimeter block that was by a receiver that was not a great block, but he got in the DB's way.
It wasn't a complete whiff and no effort. Okay.
Yeah. And so Norvell runs over and is like slapping the receiver on the back and like, really trying to hype him up. And so I asked him about it afterwards, and you could tell he was almost like grimacing it. But he felt like he has to give positive affirmation because they can't do the basic things.
The scoreboard is not positive affirmation,
so they
got to get it from somewhere.
My point is, like, I think he's been kind of caught in that mix. He's a positive coach by nature.
Yeah.
He wants to bring out the best he believes. Was after the game Friday night, he talked about how he's an optimist and he wants to believe the best. He knows these guys can do it. But it's like, dude, you at some point you have to realize what you have.
You're 7 games in, bro.
And that offensive line is.
It also goes for his staff. It goes for it's not just the roster and the guys he's throwing the ball to or blocking for him. It goes to everybody that's in contact with that offense.
People want a firing today. They wanted a firing on Saturday. I don't know that that's going to happen. But I would say, man, I'd
start scapegoating everyone. They're all gone. I'm running the show by myself. I can finally let loose.
Yeah.
It's hard to defend that offense. Other than I would say probably your running backs coach. I think other than that, I don't know that anybody, and they haven't been great, but of all the issues, they've been the least of the problems. Other than those, I mean, it's astounding how bad it's gotten.
It's unlike anything we've ever covered.
Yeah.
It's unlike anything I've ever seen at Florida State. It will go down as one of the great outliers, although I do think removed by 3 years with the changes to college football, we're in the midst of seeing extremes the likes of which we never saw from Blue Bloods before.
Yeah.
Michigan's terrible. They just won the national championship. They can't score.
Let's hold off on the word terrible.
No, they're terrible.
We're in the midst. What are we then? What is this? What are we covering?
This is beyond terrible. This is uncomprehensible.
This is terrible after dark.
Yeah, this is like the kind of terrible you don't speak of.
Unspeakable terrible.
I agree.
Okay.
But look, we're watching it happen right now. Like that Michigan, why are they the defending national champions with devoid of a quarterback at all? They have nothing. Yeah. They're just going to be 21-7 by Illinois. Yeah. They're going to lose 3 more games. You're watching Washington, who played for the national title, they lost their coach, who's going to take an Alabama team that beat Georgia and not make the 12-team playoff.
Probably.
All right, that's where we're at. Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy. Washington can't play. They're awful. You're seeing weird results. Vanderbilt's good, apparently. Yeah. Like crazy.
Indiana's the best offense in the country.
Not named Ohio State, right? So it's like, all right, but Florida State somehow is even worse than the extreme changes in the game.
In year 5.
Right. And I'm not trying to forgive it. I'm just saying I think we'll see it in a different context in a few years.
Yeah.
But in the interim, he has to find a way to save his job. And I don't mean he's getting fired this year, but he could be a dead man walking. I mean, could very well be until they can afford to make the changes. Like if they suck again next year, they have to fire him.